Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I have an unscripted video, which is basically when I do not have a script and I just talk. Now usually I feel like the past two unscripted videos that I did, they were all really sad. I feel like I made those videos from a place and point in time when I was going through a lot. And so I was just thinking last night, like, maybe I should make an unscripted video about now, where I am in my faith and my walk now. I've mentioned it briefly in my videos, but not extensively. I feel like I've talked about it to a few of my friends, but I think this would be very useful for you, not just as a viewer who subscribes to my channel, but also like as a friend. Like you guys have become dear friends to me. Like some of you like regularly comment, especially, so I'm very familiar with a few of you, and it always brings such joy to me to be like, oh wow, like you guys are interacting with me. It's really cute and I love it. So I just want to share with you, like, I guess, that what's going on here. I also want to touch on what's going on in the US right now, and frankly around the world, with Black Lives Matter movement, with the murder of George Floyd. How people around the world are standing up for it, not just in America. And yeah, like it's there's a lot going on, man, from a pandemic to a protest. Like it's amazing to see how much can happen in a span of 6 months. It's crazy, right? Like to think. So okay, let me just start by I'm trying to think, where do I start? Okay, let me just start with me, Malaysia. What's going on here? At the moment, the pandemic thing, we are basically under a conditional MCO, conditional movement control order. So basically some things are lifted, and so like some people can go back to work as long as they adhere to like the SOPs put in place by the government. There are some other establishments that are not open yet because there are no agreed SOPs put into place. Although our number of cases has reduced, quite a lot, and I think at this point we have more imported cases than actually local cases. And as far as I can remember, I don't think if any had any recent deaths, so that's good. I think our government acted really quickly, and people eventually realize that, hey, we should follow. So I'm just praying that it stays that way. I'm praying that we don't rush, we take our time and let the country heal, because you just need one person to just restart the wave again. So I'm really thankful to God that he has helped our leaders, helped our people, and yeah, basically protected us. Although there are many lives who were lost, for that it's so heartbreaking. And not just in my country, of course, all around the world it is still going on. The pandemic is not over, guys. It's still going on, but it's just that with all that's happening right now around the world, it's just one after the other, and sometimes things can get swallowed up in between. But I'm just praying that, okay, God, you're in control. You are sovereign over everything. I put my faith and my hope and my trust in you. I'm not going to sit here and be worried. I'm going to rejoice. I'm going to pursue you, pursue your kingdom, pursue your righteousness, and all these other things I can trust. So I feel like I'm at a point, following from that I mentioned this, I'm not sure whether I mentioned this in my videos or not, because I've said this so many times to so many different people now, is that I am so at peace with God. I actually rewatched the prophetic word for 2020 that I made in December. I actually rewatched it a few days ago or a week ago, and I was amazed when I watched that video, and I thought about when I made that video and everything. Because when I made that video, just right after, maybe a week or 2 weeks later, was when all hell broke loose in my life. And that's when I had this little season of just despair and of problem after problem. People after people were hurting me, and just I was so shaken and upset, and I was looking for a job, and this, that, so many things were happening. So I was a mess, struggling with my sin, struggling with people, struggling with my heart, struggling with my emotions. But when I look at the content of the prophetic word video, I'm shocked that even now, 6 months in, coming into 6 months, I truly believe I've already experienced that prophetic work right now. Like, I can see the joy of the Lord in me. I can see the peace of God just in me, even though much of the circumstances have technically not changed. It's not like the people in my life have suddenly become great again. If anything, they're missing. I've had to not just remove people, but distance myself from people, because I'm at a point in my life where God, it's so funny. I don't know when this happened. It's so funny because I feel like this is the Christian life, and I feel like this is a very important part of Christian life. You won't know when change happens. It's like suddenly you think you're going through this. It's like day in, day out, you're going through the motions technically, but in my case, it feels like that because it felt like I was just struggling for a long time. I was pursuing God, but then suddenly now when I look back, I'm like, God, I don't know when did I wake up and realize that, wow, God, I'm so grateful. God, I'm so thankful. God, I have everything I need with you in my life. I don't know when that happened in that span of time. I really don't know. But all I know is I am so grateful to God. Like, if anything, I think I watched or read somewhere that, gratitude is the mark of a Christian. You can't be a Christian and not have gratitude. Because I realized something that, especially during this lockdown and everything that's going on and stuff like that, I'm so thankful for what I have. And it made me realize that whatever I need, I have. I have my family, I have a roof over my head, I have food every day that we cook, and we cook a variety of food. So guess what? We're not ever hungry, we're not craving for certain foods, and even if we do, we have a day for takeout, and that's the day that we get to order takeout. My sister works from home most of the time, so I have her like as company. Today she's working, she's gone to the office, but I have basically my point was, I have my family with me, the people closest to me. Although the only person that I do miss the most is my grandmother, because she lives in KL. She's got dementia, so she can't stay with us. She's not able to stay with us. She's just we cannot stay with her either. Like, that's how her dementia is. No memory. She's pretty much in her own world, and she will not trust anything else we say to her. So we just have to kind of play along, and we put her into a dementia nursing home. So the workers that are catered to help dementia patients, they understand what they are like, they understand they have short attention span, that they have anger spikes. That's not who they are. That's what the disease does to you, in your mind. And so she doesn't really remember much of my family. She remembers my mom. My grandmother's got 3 kids, so my mom's the youngest. She's the only daughter. I have 2 uncles, but she remembers her the most. I think she also remembers her son. Like, I feel like she remembers her children. Those are like her most cherished people. So when she sees like my sister and I, when we go and visit, she knows that we're family, but she just can't pinpoint who you are, But I remember there's some points when suddenly she says my name, like Nisha, because Nisha is also my name, right? Arya Nisha Rabindran is my full name. And she suddenly says Nisha, and I'm like, oh, you remember? So it's somewhere in her mind. It's just whether she's reaching for it is, we don't know. But I'm thankful, even though I can't see her, I don't know how she's like. She's also very old. She's going to be 88 this year. So yeah, and she's a pretty strong lady. She's also got medical condition. She's got diabetes and stuff like that. So naturally, I'm concerned. I've thought about a few times when I pray for her, and there are a few times I've cried because I miss her, and I don't know how much time I have left with her, And she's like, I don't know whether I've shared this before. I've never experienced grief, like losing somebody, to death grief. Like, I can understand losing a friend, like, oh, I'm not friends with you anymore, but you're still there. I'm just not talking to you. But I've never experienced grief. I've never been to a funeral where I am devastated, like really devastated, because I don't know the person close enough. Like, all throughout my life, I've never felt that. So I know that eventually my grandmother will be that person who I will first experience grief, you know. That's if no one other than her, you know, closer to me. Like up after her, the closest to me are like my parents and my sister. Like these four people are like the most dearest to me. My grandmother is the one who raised me when I was like young, especially when I was a baby. Because when I was born, I'm the eldest, my sister's the youngest, and there's only two of us. So when I was born, my parents were working, obviously. So I would be at my grandmother's house all the time. And my sister, when she was born, she had a babysitter because my mom was working, my dad was working. So my dad was working as an IT manager, my mom's a doctor. So yeah, naturally there's a lot of work done. And it wasn't until much later that we had like a housemate that lived with us that, you know, did all like the house stuff, so could take care of us. That's only when we were older. When we were younger, it's kind of not a good idea. So I mostly was with my grandmother from like kindergarten all the way up to when my sister was older, and then that's when my mother started sending my sister over to my grandmother's house. So like Sundays, usually how we used to have, so I'm just telling you about like my childhood. It's not even related to what I was saying. I want to remember gratitude. Just going to come back to that. But I'm going to just tell you about my childhood a bit. So every Sunday growing up, so what we'll do is, we don't go to church all the time. When we were young, we never went to church, like service all the time. We would, eventually when we were older, we would go for Sunday school, and then we'd have breakfast, have Sunday school, and then after Sunday school, we'd go to our grandmother's house. So basically, my parents would take me and my sister after church. Our church stuff is done. We'll send us over to our grandmother's house, and we'll stay there the entire afternoon till evening. So then they'll pick us up in the evening for like dinner. But for the most part, we stayed in my grandmother's house the entire afternoon and day, and she always makes it like the best day ever. She cooks for us, gives us like really good food. We watch TV. When my grandfather was alive, my grandfather, this is my mother's side, by the way, my mother's mother, so my mother's father. So this is because on my father's side, my grandmother on my father's side, she passed away when my father was like in his mid-20s. And my grandfather, so both my grandfathers died when I was 7 and 8. So I don't really have that much of a strong memory or connection to them necessarily. I remember my mother's father more, because my other grandfather lived with us. So like we are living in like my father's like house, like in my grandfather's house specifically. So that's a lot of church members, they know this house because my grandfather was here and he was a pastor. So yeah, but anyway, back to my grandmother. So yeah, she'd have the fun time. She would always like take us for ice cream, because like when we walk out of the house, like there's a little like shop lot over there, and we'd always get ice cream, you know. My grandmother is like such a loving person. And honestly, I feel like a lot of what I do today, a lot of my traits, I feel like came from her. And I really felt connected to her because she's like the eldest in her family too. And so my parents are both the youngest in their family. My sister's the youngest in our family. So I'm like, come on, I need like a team. I need the eldest child team here. So like I always connected to her with that. She is such a loving person, very giving, very generous. So like I love her so much, and I remember so much of my memories, my childhood. There's so many things that I do today that are because my grandmother does them. Like for example, this is gonna sound really weird. If you are not from Malaysia, you have no idea how our culture is. Just so you know, this is not a Malaysian thing what I'm saying. This is my grandmother thing. Like a lot of food things that are weird. Okay, first of all, this is gonna sound weird. My grandmother loves to make omelets, right? She'll make like an egg omelet, you know, cut some onions, put the onions in, add some salt, and then mix, right? And so she'll make the omelet after she mixes it. So what apparently I think I used to do is I used to go in the kitchen and I used to kind of, I guess, poke around, because I just like to do that. I still do that to this day, I think. I just kind of say hello, and I'm like, what's going on? And what I would do is I'll want to taste it, and I tasted it and I liked it. So I liked the omelette mixture before it was even made into an omelette. And so what she started doing was she started making it for me. Like she actually just gave me like mixed egg with salt and onions, and I would eat it like that. And I've never tried it. No, I've not tried it again, but I feel like it will still taste good because the onions are like so till this day I really like to eat onions raw too, because I'm like, oh, it reminds me of my grandmother. Like somehow it reminds me. That's one thing. Another thing is what's this? Okay, we like powdered milk in this country. Like we do have like carton milk and whatnot, but we like powdered milk. Somehow it's like a thing in Malaysia, not abroad. I remember when I was in the UK and I was looking for that, I'm like, there's no powdered milk. You guys don't have powdered milk. It's like for babies apparently, but here adults also have powdered milk because it's easier, I guess. So what we have this drink called Milo, which is basically like a chocolate malted drink. Basically, like if you think about any chocolate like powdered drink. So we'll have the chocolate Milo powder, milk powder, and then your sugar. So usually you would put all those together, mix that, and then you pour hot water, and then you mix, and that's when you get Milo. Again, what I would do is, well, apparently this is something that my mom used to like too. So I think my grandmother just gave us this just for us to try because she knew that, oh, it worked with her daughter. So okay, no, I think from what my mother said, she liked to do that on her own. And then my grandmother's like, why are you doing that? Like, don't do that. And then the joke is, I was telling my mother, wow, she scolded you for this, and then she gives her grandchildren that. So because she knew that, oh, my daughter liked it, so of course they might. So till this day, I still do that sometimes. Like, oh, I just feel like eating something, but I don't want to eat something. So what I'll do is I'll take some milk powder, put sugar, mix it in, and I'll eat a bit. So it's weird. Oh, one more thing. She is the reason why I can never eat cooked carrots. I just don't like cooked carrots because what she would do, again, me being a little nosy and coming into her way, she would be cooking and chopping up carrots, and there'll be a remainder carrot left because she's not going to use all of it, like duh. So what I would do is I'll come and then she'll usually chop them up and give it to me, or she'll just give you the whole carrot, like, oh, you want? I'm like, okay. So I'll just start eating carrots like that. So I was very, very young, I was eating carrots. So I always tease like my family members, like, yeah, that's why I'm the only one without glasses, because I eat carrots. My father hates carrots. I don't know why, he can't stand them. Whenever we always make fun of him for like every food that has like carrots that are not supposed to be there, he gets mad. It's so cute. So yeah, it's all these little things. Like she really encouraged me to draw. She like it was in her house where I was so imaginative. I used to play house. I was always like the teacher. I was always like the mother. It's very funny that I feel like I always took on roles as a child that I feel like I still am today. Like here I am still like a teacher. And for reference, my grandmother was a teacher. For background about my grandmother, I don't know why I'm speaking so much about my grandmother. I think I just miss her a lot, so I'm just gonna go with it. She was actually born in India, born and raised in India up until and she actually gone to school. At that time, somehow my great grandfather, my grandmother's father, wanted her to study. At an age where women were not encouraged to. Not all of her siblings were educated. Her other sister, who has passed away since, she didn't study, and she always mentioned that she regretted it. But yeah, at the time, my great grandfather actually encouraged her to study, and eventually that led to her being married, because that's a common thing for especially Indian women, and get married and to somebody from here, so a Indian man, but from Malaysia. So that's why my grandmother came here. She had to learn a new language. So by the way, she didn't know how to cook when she left India. So my grandfather actually taught her how to cook when she came here. So I relate to her with that because I didn't like the kitchen. I didn't like to cook. Apparently, there's one time when my grandfather taught her how to make like a crab curry, and she was freaking out from the crab because the crabs were moving, and I'm like, when society tells you should do this, you should do that, especially if you're in an Indian culture. And then here's my grandmother, like, yeah, I study, I don't know how to cook, but here I am, I'm married. It's like, what? So she learned how to do so much, and I consider her such a good cook. She's like, my mother would always say, she takes a sip or a drink or something and she knows like what's in it. And I'm like, what? It's amazing, right? So like, I just love her so much. And like, she's such a strong woman, such a giving woman, even in the midst of so many circumstances that she had to go through. And she was so strong. She always thought for her children. She did her best for her children. And like, she's a big inspiration to me. And to be separated from her, not just physically now with this pandemic, but mentally, I felt like I've lost her. That was like a long time ago. I think it's about 2013 was when like it really started, because she had a fall, and that was probably the start of it, because she probably forgot to take her medication because she already had diabetes at the time before. So probably that led to her being, like dizzy, and she fell, and then we didn't know because we went to pick her up for church. Thank God it was on a Sunday that it happened, so we were actually expecting her to come out. So then, we found her. But ever since then, like, her memory went down. And then my mother, thank God my mother's a doctor too, because she eventually researched and figured out, because we were struggling for like a year, like wondering what's going on, why is she like accusing us of this. She was very paranoid. She didn't believe she was in Malaysia. She thought she was in India. She thought she has to go to school. She thought my grandfather was alive, and she was like seeing people, and we were like, what's happening? And then my mother realized that she's probably got dementia. She started reading up on it, and that's when we adjusted our entire lives to her. We used to buy her food, and she would forget to eat food. She would pack up things in her house. She would keep food everywhere. She would forget to eat, forget to take her medicine. So see, at that point was when we knew we had to find help. And she started wandering, leaving the house, and she'll forget. She doesn't know her name. People ask her, she doesn't know how to respond. She forgot Malay and English, which she learned, by the way, Malay especially. She learned. To survive in this country, you have to learn those languages. So she predominantly only speaks in Tamil, so only somebody who can speak Tamil can help her. But a lot of people had helped her, who see her across the road, or they see her wandering, because my mother had to go every single day after work to go and make sure that she's okay and everything. And it was tough for us as a family. It was a lot of tension. And then when we found this nursing home, we finally thought, okay, wow, finally we have some help. And yeah, it was a bit of a struggle for us too in the beginning, but praise God for this home, for these workers. They are all Filipino workers, and they are so sweet, they're so loving, and I'm so thankful to God for them, because they're so kind. And it's not just my grandmother in that nursing home, by the way. There are like 20 other people there, and they feed them, give them the medication, check up on them. There's so many health scares my grandmother has had in the past, and they've been helpful. I'm so thankful to the hospital. I'm thankful to my mom. The fact that God placed enabled my mother to go through medical school and everything. And in the end, my mother's the one who's helping her own mother. Like, if that is not a sense of reward, I don't know what is. So yeah, but so like, I'm so thankful. Like, you see, like, even in the midst of all this, like, there is something to be thankful for. And as much as I dread the day that I will one day lose her, I know that she will be with the Lord. There's so many things that she's forgotten, but she's not forgotten. When we have like a hymn book in our church, and like a Tamil hymn book, and if you give it to her and you show her certain hymns, she actually remembers. She's a big singer. I remember when I was young, she used to like sing me to sleep, because there are some days when we slept over. I think specifically slept over, and she used to like stroke my head, and she'll sing, and I'll fall asleep. So like I'm getting emotional because I miss her. I miss her so much. But yeah, my mother does visit her right now, but thing is, right now, because of the lockdown restrictions, she can only see her from outside and just pass her things. But yeah, like, as far as I know right now, she's doing well. My mother sees her, because that's her daughter. So yeah, I'm good sure I can imagine my mother feels a lot more for her mom than I did. But yeah, having somebody in your family who has dementia teaches you a lot, because it teaches you how to care for elderly people, how to be understanding. So many people put my mom down for doing that, like, oh, why didn't you make her stay in your house? Why didn't you order a maid, or like get a maid to come in and take care of her? And we've told them, like, it doesn't work. She will be so aggressive and call them thieves and chase them out, and she doesn't like to stay in a house for a long time. You have to continuously tell them it's okay, no, like, this is your house. So it's tough, but my grandmother's doing well, and I think if not for this nursing home, if not for our decision to put her there, she would not be as happy. And whenever we visit her, she's always happy for the most part, if not for her mood swings, due to the dementia and everything. So yeah, I'm so thankful to these people. And also, back to my point of gratitude, I'm so grateful to what I have in my life, who I have in my life, the lessons I've learned, and those are like, that's my family. I also have a few friends that I can talk to once in a while. I realize that I don't actually need to talk to somebody every single day. I can just talk to a few people every once in a while, And that's mainly because I have entrusted my life to God. I've somehow gone, it's not like a routine, it's not religious. I just do this every time. I just do this now. I don't know where, again, see, I don't know. It's not a conscious decision, but it just happened. And it turns out to be really, really good. So I just take this as this is God working to will and to do according to his good pleasure. That's just him doing his work through the Holy Spirit. Where I generally do my Bible study. So I don't do like hardcore Bible study, like I watch a YouTube video on the study of the Bible and I take notes. I don't do that all the time, sometimes. But what I do all the time is it's gonna sound weird. I pray in the shower a lot. That's like my thing, and that's like the place where I get to tell God. And I just kind of, it's like how I'm speaking to you right now, this unscripted thing, I do that with the Lord, and I do that with the Lord first before I ever do that anywhere else. So because I've learned over the course of my despair period of time, past however many months, that when I keep my emotions in, and that's purely because of I felt like it wasn't safe to say my emotions out, and I can understand that. My childhood was like that. I was a very sensitive child. I still am very sensitive. I was very cautious, very, very sensitive, very, very hesitant. I felt like I couldn't trust a lot, and I think growing up that my emotions were really teased. I was teased for being a crybaby, for being very sensitive. I was put down a lot for that. So, and even when I do express my emotions, it was never favorable or helpful to me. So I just learned to just deal with it on my own. And that's bad when you're a child, because that's not what you're supposed to be teaching children. So over time, life circumstances, it gets a lot worse. But now, praise the Lord, he has taught me so much. And I'm at such a good place emotionally now. Not because I'm perfect, not because I never get emotionally out of control. It's because I give them to the Lord. I finally learned that my emotions are safe with the Lord. I can share with him my pain, my anguish, my anger. I can question, I can doubt, I can wrestle. God is not threatened by my emotions, not at all. And so I feel to the full extent with God. And I have to do that regularly. So that's what I do. I try to do this every day. So not try, more like I have somehow developed this habit where I evaluate my emotions day by day and think, what am I feeling? Am I feeling a bit angry? Am I feeling a bit annoyed? Am I feeling a bit sad? Why? So when I have to kind of go through that thought process and tell God, why do I feel this? It feels like this. I don't know what to do. And just like how I always admired the way David wrote his Psalms. He usually starts a lot of his Psalms with, this has happened, blah, blah, blah. Like, I hate this. I want to fly away. Things like that. And then he ends it with, but God, you are my deliverer. You are my salvation. And that's how I do. So I think I've been doing that in practice and not consciously. I'm not doing it like I'm going to do this, like trying to strive to do it. Like, it's just, that's how Spirit has kind of led me, and it's beautifully working in my life. So I share with him everything that I feel about everyone, any struggle, any little thing. If I have to cry that day, I've kind of stopping myself from crying or holding back my emotion or holding back something. I just let it out. I let myself feel. If I have to keep crying until I don't cry anymore, I will cry to the Lord. That's what I do. And so I cry quite regularly. And that's good. It's good to cry to the Lord, what you're feeling, what's going on, especially right now. There's so much emotion that's going around, and I think that we really need to get in touch with our emotions and go to the Lord. God never invalidates our emotions. He never diminishes our experiences. God doesn't say what you experience isn't real. He doesn't gaslight you. He doesn't invalidate you. The world does. And I notice it a lot, especially now with the whole incident with George Floyd's murder, and so many people are so like, get over it, it happens, all lives matter. And I'm like, why are you invalidating the pain, the suffering that has been there? We cannot ignore this. If we ignore this, that's what's pent up. that's what I forgot the quote that people have been talking about, with the riots and everything. Like, riots are like the voice of the silent, or something like that, around that notion of this is what happens when you don't speak up, and it's so beautiful to see how many of us have been speaking up right now. But at the same time, this is not something that should end. We should keep speaking out about racism. In Malaysia, there's so much racism. This incident with George Floyd has helped us also to kind of use this as an opportunity to speak out about our own racism towards the races here, especially my Indian race. We tend to be the ones who are the most affected here somehow. There's a small community of Black people here too, who have come here to work, come here to study. Some are refugees, and they are also mistreated here. So we are against racism, yes, but specifically the Black community has faced astronomical forms of it still till this day. Seriously, so that's wild. So my point about this is that pain should be what's the word I'm trying to say? Pain should be expressed. Yes, pain should be expressed. And if it is not expressed, it'll fester. It's going to get worse. Pain is like a cancer. You need to let this out of your system. And the best place to let it out first is to the Lord. Man will not be able to help you more than the Lord will. And and that's how I've been. And this is a discipline that I've kind of come up with. It's not a discipline, but it is, I don't know how to explain it, but you know what I mean. So I've led to this. So I do my prayer, and most of my prayers are just kind of me letting out and then declaring and kind of praising the Lord, remembering who is He, reminding myself of His attributes and whatnot. Not very and then of course, if I have any requests, I give Him my requests. But the thing about gratitude is that you tend to be very, not selective, but you tend to be very, very, what is the word? Like, you don't simply ask for anything. You are mindful about what matters. And that's what I've come to realize, is that, oh wow, I don't need to talk to everybody. I have the Lord. And I do like my little, I read the Bible. So I go through different books of the Bible in my phone, on my app. I use the YouVersion Bible app. So if you want to find me and add me as a friend, you can. Like, my name is there. Just type my name. It should be there. So I follow our scripture. I follow like a Bible plan. I watch all the sermons. I take notes sometimes. So this is how I just keep in touch with the Lord every single day. And I've been doing this for I don't know how long now. Maybe a few weeks, or more than a few weeks, actually, not longer. So yeah, and every once in a while I talk to a good friend of mine. And most of the time when I do speak to people, I speak out of I'm pouring into people. So I'm sharing, this is what the Lord is going to do, whether it's about my church, about Christianity, about believers. I want to strengthen and encourage and edify the body. So when I do speak to people, that's what I do. If I speak to people who need counsel, God brings people to me for me to minister to, which I do. So I'm no longer operating from a place of lack, because one, I've learned my boundaries. I've learned how to say no. I've learned how to distance myself when I feel like something is not, so I've basically learned to respect myself, value myself, and also be like, hey, your emotions are telling you this, maybe you should deal with this there, or maybe your boundaries are being pushed here, maybe you should vocalize, say something. So I am a lot more comfortable now in vocalizing when something is not acceptable, or I'm open to negotiation. So I've just experienced a whole new sense of openness. My willingness has changed. I'm more willing to listen. I'm more willing to be like, okay, I may be wrong about this. I'm willing to be teachable. And this is not overnight. Do I not get temptation? Do I not get struggles? Do I not feel that flesh kind of kick in and be like, ugh? Yes, I do. Sometimes every day. Sometimes a lot more in a day than other days. But that's the thing. I have to remember, what did Jesus die for? What do I have in my life? And a huge reason why I am in such peace with myself, with God, with everyone around me, is that gratitude. Like, God, you have given me so much, and you have given me peace on all sides. I'm reminded of like Solomon, you have given me peace on all sides. And when you have peace on all sides, emotionally, mentally, physically, socially, you are good. When something tries to come in and you can sense it, it's easy to sense if that's a threat or not. That's the difference, I think, because previously my life was chaotic. It was a mess. I was a mess internally. So obviously externally it's going to be a mess too, because I feel like we unconsciously like to match our circumstance, because that cognitive dissonance, that, oh, this does not match reality, it kind of messes us up. So we like to match that. If I'm chaotic, I want chaos. But if I'm at peace and I'm full of love and grace and truth, I want that in my life too. So truly it does start with your relationship with the Lord, and how that does change what you will accept, what you will allow into your life, and what you won't. So now that I'm like, it's such a good place with the Lord, good place with my emotion, good place with my friends, my family, I don't need anything. Do I have needs? Yes. But do I need anything? No. The Lord has provided for me in so many ways. He has given me gifts. He's given me rewards, this platform, like my family, like he's given me, like I'm so grateful. So if somebody tries to come into my life and try to tell me and try to disrupt me, try to put me down, try to do something in a way that is not helpful, and definitely you are not thinking of my good or God in what you are doing, I'm gonna be like, no, I will not accept this. Like, no, I will not let into my life anything that's going to disrupt this beauty, this peace, this atmosphere of joy. I find myself just naturally joy. I feel like I'm coming back to who I really am, I'm a joyful person. I feel like my nose is itchy, I don't know why. I'm a naturally really joyful person, and I feel like it comes through in these videos, and that's just how I am. I'm quite like a little bubbly character, like a cartoon character. I always say like I'm like a cartoon, like, which is why people tend to think that I'm a lot younger, because one, my hair is a lot shorter, so I think that's why it suits me, because I feel like I act very like I'm very like smiley and happy. But yeah, like you would never think somebody like me would have such anguish and issues, But I feel like God has brought me to a place of such joy again. And this is not like some made up joy. It's not a joy because things have happened to me, It's the joy of the Lord, and it's the joy of salvation. And I'm just so grateful to the Lord. So I guess I want to encourage you. Look in your life and see what God has done. There's so much good that God has done. And it's not to negate what hasn't He done yet, but gratitude helps you look forward. It helps you also to have trust in God that He will do what His will is. He will do what He has promised. And I feel like that has anchored my prayers too, because I'm like, God, I completely trust in You, not because I just trust in You blindly. I trust You because I have reason to, I trust You because Your character is so sure. I am so sure of Your character based on what I look in my life and I see what You've done for me, not just in salvation, but like everything else that comes with being a Christian and life, Christian living. Like, so yeah, okay, this is a sign that it's time for me to time out. So I just pray that all of you are staying safe and healthy, and that please continue standing against this injustice, against racism. That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to do as much as I can with my platform, So I do pray that all of you are well and that you stay safe. Keep going back to the Lord. Everything we have to go back to the Lord. Our relationship with God is our primary source of everything that flows out of us. So keep getting connected to the Lord. So yes, I will see you in another video hopefully soon. So thank you for listening, and God bless you. Bye.